Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Majestic Collectibles podcast series. This is podcast number 8, The Origin of Majestic Collectibles. This was suggested by one of my followers, so thank you for that, Chad. I honestly don't know why anybody's interested. I gotta be honest. I'm glad people are. Don't get me wrong, but to me, listening to somebody's biography or whatever, I just have never got much out of that. So hopefully this won't bore too many people. I'll try and keep it short, and I say that every week, and I'm wrong every week. Hey, if you get a chance, guys, click like, hit subscribe, check out our other YouTube videos or podcasts. And right now, this is the last topic I have, so I don't know next week if I'm going to get a podcast out or not. No big deal if I don't, but give me some topics. Been thinking about maybe doing something maybe a little more specific just about eBay reselling and stuff like that, although we covered a lot of that ground in previous podcasts, but this would be, a little more tailored for eBay stuff. Other than that, I'm trying to think, maybe what it's like to set up at shows and flea markets, being a show dealer, I guess I would, versus online reselling, and maybe wrap in the selling through the antique mall booth and stuff like that. So I don't know. In your comments section, leave me your thoughts on that. Come up with a better topic. I'll be happy to do that. And maybe I'll think of something, for next week. Today is March 8th, 2023. It's a dreary, rainy, blustery day. Nothing like light snow, freezing rain, and slush, but we're warm here in the Majestic Studios, which is not near as fancy as it may sound. So, origin of Majestic Collectibles. So, officially, it was Majestic Comics originally, and that opened in October. I think it was October. I'm going back a ways. So 1986. So it was either late October, maybe right at the first part of November, 86. I can't remember. It was in my hometown of Newell in northwest Iowa. It was right on Main Street. There's a big corner hardware store building, huge brick building. Must have gone back to, late 1800s, early 1900s. I'm not sure. And they had kind of made a little, I don't know what you call it, like an office suite deal in there. And I don't know what it was for. I honestly don't know what was in that spot. It wasn't a very big spot. Had a couple of rooms. This was actually not my idea. So I was, 16, well, probably 17, just turned 17 at the time. And for some reason, my dad thought this would be a good idea. He came up with the idea for myself and my sister. She's about 3 years younger than me, to open up a small shop selling used comics. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. It sounded fun, so we thought, well, why not? My sister really wasn't super interested in the comics or running a store. And honestly, I really wasn't either, to be truthful. We just kind of humored my dad a little bit. It didn't last very long. Certainly did not make any money. And we were only open basically Saturday mornings or right after school till like maybe 5 or 6. And we were in a small town, maybe 700, I'm thinking at the time. Just not a lot of drive-by traffic, I guess you would say. So the other problem was when the weather actually turned cold. It turned into winter. Turned out our little section didn't have heat, so that made it really rough to try and go in there in December and January, and it was 10, 12 degrees outside, and it was about 12 or 15 degrees inside. You could see your breath inside, and people didn't linger for some reason. So I don't know, 2-3 months maybe more, and then that kind of gave up on that whole thought process. And I always liked the idea of being a business for myself. We set up at a few flea markets, very, very small ones. It was like, I don't know, $10-15 to get a little space and throw out a table and sell some junk. The retail side, I don't know. It was nothing I was really too excited over. And this is pre-internet days, where if you were in college or university or a large business, you had some internet access, but certainly nothing like eBay, nothing like mass market access, and we didn't have that where I was at anyway. So kind of took it on pause, and I think it was 1994. Dad retired from the work where he was at in Newell, and I think after 30-some years of working in the same spot, I think having Dad around every day all of a sudden was probably a little rough on Mom and him both, so he needed something to do. And some reason he came up with the idea of opening a store again. And again, I don't know the exact the date. I just do not remember it anymore. But it must have been like summer of '94, and he found a little spot. Dad found this all on his own. I had nothing to do with it. And that was on, I believe it was Michigan Street or Michigan Avenue in Storm Lake, a neighboring town. Much larger neighboring town, over 10,000 people. So good-sized town. And kind of the same thing. He just wanted something to do. Dad did, he was always kind of a coin collector and along those lines, gold and silver and things. I never really got into it too much myself, and that's what he did. And then, I did comic books. I did some sports cards were hot at that time. Kind of just comic related because there weren't a lot of movies out then. We had the Batman in the 80s and, maybe what came out then, X-Men. Was that the one that came out in the mid-90s? See, I can't even remember. But, we didn't have the hype, and even then the internet wasn't, developed like it is today. So that really didn't have any of that going on. And that lasted actually quite a while. We were only in the small location, I call it, on Michigan Avenue, I think it was, for maybe a year. And Dad... Somebody Dad knew, had known for a while, literally walked into that little shop and asked Dad if he wanted to buy a building on Main Street. So Dad's like, sure, how much? And I think it was $60,000. I cannot remember, but that number sticks in my head. And so he bought a Main Street building right on Main Street, Storm Lake. And as of 2003, the shop is still there. It's not being run by us. Dad sold it off before he passed away, so probably 2016, 2017. He sold the building and the business, and I had been out of it since about 2001 when I moved to central Iowa. But it's still going under a different name. And so basically from 94, 95, and I was in the shop till 2001, and then I want to say 2016, so it was there quite a while, still operating as a kind of a collectible store, a little more eclectic, I guess you would say, inventory than what we had. But it's nice to see it's still there under a different name, but, have fond memories of it. And... then I moved down here. My wife was teaching and lost her job where she was at the community college, and found a new one and a really good job down here in the Des Moines area. And that's when I left the retail shop. And the whole time I'd kind of done shows and flea markets on and off. Mainly flea markets, only 3 a year up in Spirit Lake. Well, first it was Milford on the far west side of the lake, and then that one closed, and then another one opened, and I moved into there. So I'm in a couple, 3 different locations. Still there, still do the three shows a year. Let's see, let me get it in the right order here. Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Labor Day now in Spirit Lake at the Dickinson County Fairgrounds. I didn't do the online stuff. I've been online with eBay since '97, about a month before my daughter was born. That's our oldest. But being a parent with some young kids, just did not have a lot of time to devote to that because I was still in the retail shop at that time. And then my son was born right after we moved down here, and he got really sick. And I ended up being a stay-at-home dad for, basically till he got out of high school. And once he was out of high school, he's a junior in college this year, so it hasn't been that long. Then I could devote a lot more full-time to the online, go to more shows, and I just had a lot more time to develop the business. And that's really it. Again, it's nothing too exciting or extraordinary or anything like that. And hopefully we can get some nice collections in and keep things moving forward. As far as me personally, I've always been a comic collector. I shouldn't say a collector. I was a little kid. They'd give me some cheap used comics, and I'd read them until they literally fell apart. And then to get more and do it, I never really collected. Just whatever I could buy or what somebody gave me. I didn't really start collecting until I was probably in my teens. Always been a Golden Age Batman guy. Got most of them. Batman 2 through the end of the first series run before they started doing all the resets, and probably about 70-75% of the detective books, those early ones, ouch, yeah, I could sell my house and still not be able to buy most of those books. I guess my claim to fame there was Detective 38, which is the first appearance of Robin. That was probably my best, highest dollar book, if you will. Always been into sci-fi horror stuff. Even when I was little, I was always reading House of Mystery, the Swamp Thing stuff, Phantom Stranger, The Shadow, and Batman, and mainly DC stuff. I've never been I don't hate Marvel. I've just never been a huge Marvel reader. But Avengers was my favorite. Avengers and Fantastic Four were my best memories of collecting growing up, which is a pretty good era for both of those. Never got into Spider-Man a whole lot. Never got into X-Men a ton. Read them, but wasn't rabid over it or anything like that. I just never found it super interesting like I did the other books. And nowadays, actually, I quit collecting. I probably haven't really actually collected for I want to say a good 10, 12 years now. The new stuff just kept relaunching and regurgitating stories I read as a kid in the 70s. And they just kind of seem to put new twists on them. And the characters, I think they basically ruined most of the characters. So I really don't collect. There's still a few 50s Atomic Age sci-fi horror books I'd like to pick up. The EC stuff, I'd like to get a few more of those, and some of the Avon books. I'm trying to think of what else. Maybe some of the pulp stuff from the 30s and 40s prior to World War II. I like the covers on some of those Amazing Stories and The Shadow and Spider and things. And I have a few of them, but they're really super hard to find here in Iowa. And I don't know. It's just something that's more of a novelty to me. So if I find them, I try and get them, but I really don't hunt or search them down. And, that kind of brings us all up to today, to 2023. And, I got that killer action figure collection in. If you've been following that for the last year and a half on YouTube, just an amazing collection. And, that came with comics, it came with action figures, came with toys, came with trading cards, which those I sold off. It came with a bunch of Hot Wheels. I sold almost all those off right away. And starting to line up sports figures, those I didn't want to deal with, so I sold those off, which is a pretty good chunk of inventory. It's a very large collection there. And, we'll see how long we can keep it going. I'm having fun. I get to work from home. I can kind of pick and choose, what shows I go to and stuff like that. My only other location is the Brass Armadillo here in Des Moines. I've got a booth, and, I don't sell a ton through there. Not if you're ever thinking of doing that type of thing, I really enjoy it. But it's kind of hard to make money because the booth rent and the costs and stuff have just skyrocketed since I started doing that in the late 90s. And that's maybe one of the podcasts I might do next week or somewhere down the road. And honestly, I don't know what else to answer. The name, okay, people ask me how I came up with the name. And, the first store, the little store in Newell, I just picked something that I thought sounded cool. It has no, it just popped into my head. I have no real background. It wasn't like some sort of name or something that I thought of, always wanted to do a business with. It's just never. So where the Majestic Comics came from, I don't know. I stuck with it. I still like it. I've got the logo of a buddy of mine here in the comic book club did for me a few years ago, and I've kind of, spruced up, I guess, the imaging and branding a little bit. So I've had a lot of fun with that. Of course, it's Majestic Collectibles now because I carry more than comics. It was comics and trains for a while because I was a Lionel train dealer in the 90s. Now I do, model kits. New ones and old ones, both. We have some old vinyl records. I've got farm primitives. I've got the comics. I've got, I'm just trying to think. We do some gas and oil stuff, oil cans. Not as much now. That's a market that really softened up a little bit. And I'm always looking to try new things. It's fun to add like these action figures. I'd had a few, but nothing like this, obviously. And just learning about them and things has been really enjoyable for me. So I really like that. I am not an action figure expert at this point. There's so many nuances and moving parts. But I'm really glad I got it. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience, I think, with that particular collection. So that's pretty cool. I guess, I'll follow up on this if you guys want. Let me know if you have any questions on it. I'll certainly do my best to answer them. I never really recorded or put this in a journal. So, I'm just kind of going off memory for almost 40 years worth now. And it's been a fun ride, and hopefully this ride's going to go for a few more years yet. We'll just see what it brings us, see what goes on with the economy, see how collectors and collectors' tastes and wants and needs evolve. What's not going to be collected anymore, what is going to be, maybe going forward, what's going to be collected. So it's not boring. I think the worst thing that I can do is stay in one place. If I just stay with a narrow range of comics, I'm in trouble. Same with action figures. You kind of got to have a mix of stuff, and it's got to be the right era. Hopefully, we'll pick up some collections. I'd really like to pick up a few collections and then talk about them here on the podcast and on YouTube. You've seen some of my other collections, a little bit on YouTube, what I find at flea markets and things like that, but never really talked about it on the podcast yet or anything specific. I had my top collections list that I bought, but most of that stuff is long gone other than the action figure stuff, so it's really hard to talk about something that's not in front of you or that happened years ago. And that's it, guys. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I really appreciate you listening and watching the videos. As always, send me your ideas for stuff. Always open to gab about collectibles and things of that nature and online business, or even even the show business, whatever you guys want. So that's it. Stay warm. Thanks for listening.